Well, I'm Jen Mason. I'm your worship associate for today. I have a welcome that's adapted from the words written by David Schwartz from Worship Web. Our Puritan ancestors believed in predestination. God had chosen the ones who were going to be saved, and the way you proved to others that you were among the worthy was by acting so perfectly correct on the outside that no one had any doubts of your perfection. Well, some of us at least, still do this today. No matter how perfect you seem and act on the outside, some feel that they will never be good enough, no matter what they do. It's an act of profound bravery to turn away from that kind of living, not once and for all, but day by day, choosing not to live a private theology of your own unworthiness. It is an act of love for yourself and for each other to come back home and let go of pretend perfection and certainty. Our work together in song and silence and laughter and hope and tears isn't a denial or avoidance of difficult realities, but an embrace of all that it is to be human. May this community provide a homecoming, relief, and celebration of you. Now, I'd like to take some time to introduce our amazing speaker today, Representative Mihaela Plesa. She is a lifelong Texan and the first-generation daughter of Romanian immigrants, and proudly serves House District 70 in Collin County, which includes far north Dallas, Plano, Richardson, and Allen. That's a lot. She made history as the first Romanian American elected to office in Texas. Now, in her second term, she serves as so much, this is a long sentence, serves as vice chair of the Texas House Democratic Caucus and vice chair of the House Committee on Pensions, Investments, and Financial Services, and is a member of the House Elections Committee. As a former small business owner and legislative director, Mihaela focuses on public funding for schools, reducing property taxes, and when I said public funding, I mean funding for public schools, improving public safety, expanding access to health care, and strengthening support for children and families, including securing new investments in early childhood intervention. Representative Plesa is known for her strong commitment to constituent engagement and active presence throughout House District 70. Now, more important on a personal note, she has two precious dogs. She says they're small but mighty. One's named Napoleon and the other one's Oliver. Let us give her a warm welcome. This promise of democracy is one of collective power and shared responsibility. Many understand that this covenantal promise is not without its challenges. Democracy asks us to engage in issues, to participate in bringing about change, and to care deeply about one another. It is cultivated in the small, consistent actions, in the conversations that we have, the ways we listen to and learn from one another, as well as the votes we cast. It demands that we see beyond ourselves, recognizing the dignity of every person and honoring the rich diversity of lives. In the words of Vice President Kamala Harris, democracy, our democracy, is not guaranteed. It is only as strong as our willingness to fight for it, to guard it, and to never take it for granted. We, the people, have the power. You have the power. And when we vote, we expand the power, the possibility, and the promise of democracy. It is clear that at the heart of this democracy is the promise of people, our hopes, and our dreams. We are the democracy and the stewards of this promise, the practitioners of this sacred work, As Unitarian Universalists, we believe democracy is more than a political system. It is a shared journey, a collective responsibility, and a profound act of faith in one another. May we walk this path with grace, with purpose, and with phenomenal commitment to the common good. We will begin today by lighting our chalice, a symbol of Unitarian Universalism and the light of hope. Each Sunday when we gather, we light this symbol of life, and today the chalice will be lit by our Marsha ring.
Let us be like that first hint of green, renewed by the warmth of the sun's rays, and ready to emerge with a new energy, ready to face the day. We light this chalice to bring a glimmer of that warmth into our space.
A covenant is the promise we make with one another about the way we will walk together as a community, a congregation. Please join me in reminding ourselves of this promise.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another.
This reading is from Democracy Forward, the imperative to reimagine. The rule of law, along with the norms, institutions, and guardrails that sustain democracy, have declined and are under extraordinary strain. As we confront democratic backsliding, reimagining calls us to think beyond restoration, beyond rebuilding with the same blueprints, beyond returning to some version of before. It calls on us to build a country designed to hold all of us, one that confronts not only autocratic threats, but also the deeper structural injustices and constraints on human freedom that have persisted since our nation's founding 250 years ago. We must proactively build a democracy that is more inclusive, more accountable, and more capable of delivering for people and our communities. Momentum matters. Momentum must be sustained, expanded, and transformed into lasting change to reimagine a democracy that works for everyone. Democracy is not given. Democracy is a choice, and we must keep choosing it.
Good morning. It's still morning, so that's still appropriate. It's truly an honor to be back here with you guys. Thank you for inviting me back. Didn't ruin that the first time around, so that's good. But as most of you know, I was brought up in the Greek Orthodox Church, being Romanian. So there's just, every time I come here, there's just something very special about this place. I feel it from the moment I step inside, seeing all of your beautiful smiling faces, how gracious you guys are, how inviting you guys are. So thank you so much for inviting me and for just creating this space of warmth. You know, it's y'all's openness, I think, that gets me every time I walk in the door. How reflective you guys are about your actions in the world and what that means for reactions. And that you guys continue asking, you know, hard questions of our society, of our lawmakers, of me. But what I really want to impart on you guys is that you truly live out those beliefs. And in times like this, I know it can be really hard. So I guess what I want to start off by saying is, the question is, where does democracy really begin, right? And a lot of times people think, well, in Austin or in DC or in Washington or in a courtroom or on a campaign trail. But really, the truth is that democracy starts in rooms just like this. It begins with you. It begins with your values. It begins with your voice. And most importantly, it begins with your willingness to care about people that you guys might never, ever meet. Because at the core, democracy is not just a system of government, it's a moral practice. We hear it all the time, that our budgets is a contract of what our moral compass is. So essentially, it's how we choose one another every day. That's what was said a little bit ago. Did you read my notes? Okay. So I want to start with something simple, a truth that feels really urgent right now. People are tired. Y'all are tired, right? I'm tired. Mostly, I'm tired of the division. I'm tired of feeling like my neighbors' voices don't matter. I'm tired of conversations that feel more like battles than bridge building. And I hear it everywhere I go. As the only Democrat representing Collin County, literally everywhere I go, from town halls to block walks to Rotary clubs, I get asked, does it even matter anymore? Does what I do matter? And I want you guys to hear me very clearly. I'm going to take off my glasses right now. It does. If you guys believe that what you do every day doesn't matter, then the people who are working diligently every day to get you to believe that are winning. Because when we start believing like we don't have the power, when we start believing that our voices don't matter, then the people who are the loudest, then their voices are the ones that people hear the most of. So it does. It matters more than ever before. And now I take a lot of my spirituality from the Bible because that's what my grandmother read to me. So most of you guys have heard the Gospel of Luke. A lot of you guys who haven't will know this story, okay? Everybody knows this story. Y'all realize it immediately. It's the story of the Good Samaritan, right? Did y'all know that was in the Gospel of Luke? Okay. I didn't. I just remember my grandma telling me the story when I was a kid. But y'all know the story, right? So there's a person, they're beaten on the side of the road, and several people pass this individual. Some people think they're respected individuals. These are important people, but yet they walk by this beaten, broken individual needing help. Someone comes along. Who is it? A Samaritan, right? Someone who at that time would have been seen as an outsider. He stops. He sees the man. He cares for him. He chooses compassion over convenience. Now, this lesson isn't just about kindness. I always thought it was about kindness. But actually, what my grandmother was teaching me it was about responsibility, right? When we see suffering, when we see injustice, when we see something that's not right, do we just pass by or do we stop? That's democracy. That is democracy. It's that moment. It's that moment over and over and over again. Stopping and seeing each other's dignity, right? I see that every day in my district. I've sat with small businesses. We do something called Small Business Saturday. I've sat with small businesses, owners who open their doors way before the sun opens and stay all day late into the night. It's not easy for them, right? Especially not in this economy, especially not with these illegal tariffs. That's another story. But they do it because they believe that they are building something, that they are contributing to their community, that they are leaving something for their family. They're not asking for special treatment, they're just asking for a fair shot. So that's what dignity is, right? Making sure that their work is valued, making sure that their risks matter, making sure that their dreams, the American dream, is not simply out of reach because millionaires and billionaires' voices are louder. So dignity is not abstract. It is economic, it is personal, and it is lived. That's why when we say the budget in Texas, that billion-dollar budget, 8th largest economy in the world, it is a contract of what our moral compass is. What are we funding? What are we defunding? What are we cutting? And who are we giving the levers of power to? So, dignity requires us to listen rather than talk. This one's a hard one for me. It also requires us to stay at the table when we would much rather walk away, or in some cases, flip it. So, to see humanity in someone who may not see it in us, that's where we're at right now, right? Is finding that grace and being able to sit at the table to find dignity in continuing the conversations without shouting, without silencing the other person, even sometimes when we don't win. It's that understanding. So I go back to something else that people in the legislature say all the time that comes from the Bible. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and you know what the last one is, slow to become angry. But it's really hard right now to not be angry. It's really hard to have the patience when we're seeing so many of our neighbors being locked away in detention centers, so many of our family members that we love being segregated and ostracized from our society, laws that we grew up under being stripped away from us. So let me just be real clear right now. Y'all know me. What I'm trying to say is not that we should be silent in the face of injustice. I'm not saying we should be passive, and I'm not saying that we should be okay with what's happening. I think that we should be smart at what we are seeing around us. I think that it requires us to understand that this is where we meet the road, where the rubber meets the road. What kind of society are we going to be? What kind of community are we going to be? I have never shied away from standing up to the bad guy, right? There are moments when speaking up would have been way easier, or staying silent would have been way easier, where speaking up was really dangerous. And I learned that silence does not protect you. It just delays that moment before you find your voice, right? And I want to talk to you a little bit about a moment that I discovered this. It was during the quorum break. Do y'all remember the quorum break of last summer? That was not an easy moment for me. Not because I didn't think that what was happening wasn't necessary. It's because I recognize that I represent a swing district, a purple district in southwest Collin County. And I knew that in this moment, 50% of my district was probably going to be really upset with the decision that I was having to make. But I sat with my husband as he played the song, "Should I Stay or Should I Go Now?" And I thought that the silence won't protect me. It'll just delay the moment before I have to find my voice. So with all the pressure, with all the noise, with all the reasons to stay quiet, I realized that in that moment, democracy needed to take root. And I had to speak up, even if my voice shook, even if my hand shook, and even if it was going to cost me my seat and $10,000. So in that moment, I had to decide, and I wasn't going to let democracy pass me by. And it brings me back to another story my grandmother told me in the book of Esther. Perhaps you have come to this moment for such a time as this. How many of you guys have heard that before? Esther was placed in a position of influence during a time of really great danger, and she was afraid. But she was called to act anyways. And those words have echoed across generations. Perhaps you have come to this moment for such a time as this. Our community has come to this moment to lead with dignity, to have the hard conversations. Because that's what this moment takes. The bigger people in the room, the adults who understand that economies can break, empires can fall, and it's a democracy or a republic only if we can keep it. So I think a lot about this when I'm at the Texas Capitol, when I'm fighting for families, when I'm getting that bio to be even longer the next time. And I think a lot about it when I'm sitting across from people who fundamentally disagree with me, right? Who, for many of them, would do anything in their power to make sure that I wasn't there. They don't even want me to breathe the air on the House floor. That's probably going to be a rule next session, and Democrats have to have limited air. But the truth is, I don't carry this work alone. None of us carry any of the work that we're doing alone. This is the important part I need you guys to hear. Democracy was never meant to be a spectator sport. It is meant to be lived, and it is a full contact sport. And living, it can look like so many things. Living this democracy can look like so many things. Most of the time it's voting, and that's really important. Check your voter registration, please. You know they love to do funny stuff with the voter rolls, right? But it also looks like showing up when it would be so much easier to stay home. It looks like having those conversations with people who don't agree with you and choosing to do that every day. Speaking up when something doesn't feel right, even when your voice shakes. Caring about what happens in your community, even if it doesn't affect you. Actually, especially when it doesn't affect you. Because the strongest communities are not built on sameness, right? We're built on the connections that we build. We built on choosing our community over and over and over again, choosing our humanity over and over again. And I see that all the time, especially with our young voters. I had a young constituent come up to me the other day and they said, I don't know if politics is really for people like me. And I looked at them and I said, it has to be. It has to be. Because if young people don't see themselves in this democracy, we old people, we're in trouble. It means they're going to tap out. It means that they're not going to lean in. And it means that this experiment that we've all been participating in will not be much longer. So our responsibility is to teach the younger generations how important it is for them to participate. and to make sure that that door is wide open for everyone coming in after us. I know it can feel overwhelming. I know that these problems are big, they're complicated, and they seem far out of reach. But change has never started with everything. The first Democrat to represent Collin County in 30 years didn't start in 2022. It started many, many years before I won in November of 22 with people who came before me and who laid that path. It starts with you. It starts with the conversation. It starts with your courage, your conviction, and your decision not to walk past. Those things don't always make headlines, but those are the things that change lives, that build trusts, and that strengthen our communities. It's what keeps our democracy alive. So I'll leave you with this. I know that you've been feeling discouraged, and you are not alone. I know you've been wondering if your voice matters. We've already established it does. And I know you've been waiting for a sign to get involved. So here it is. For such a time as this, we need people to lead with dignity, to choose dialogue, especially when it's difficult, and to take action when it's uncomfortable. Thank you so much.
As our worship time this morning draws to a close, it is now time to extinguish our chalice. Please join me now in reciting these words.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
May we remember to do the daily work of our faith formation together across the generations so that we can respond with love at the center and with our living tradition as our guide.